Okay, so Jan versus Fabi played a 4 knights and a scotch. This is the 4 knights, and then he transposed into a scotch. When I have black here, I play bishop b4, which doesn't have a great reputation, because, sometimes it doesn't have protection, and, the bishop, sometimes there's, it's a bishop, so right? Sometimes bishops do things they shouldn't do. Yeah. So anyway, he played the normal, and I tell all of my students when I had students, when you play e4, e5, which is what happened on move 1, the point is if they play d4, you take it. That's why you played e5. No d4 for you or soup. Okay. So this is the main line. And what's funny is for thousands of years they took this way, and now they seem to be castling. Like this is very common now. And after castles takes, it could transpose. But bishop g4, and white doesn't really have any good choices here. And that's why this has become popular for black. And a lot of super GMs are, and super GMs when they're white, they're not, this isn't a good way to play for a win. That's not, this is a good way to have a boring game and not have any risk. Anyway, this is all prep and theory, and it's a million games, but it's a relatively new idea to play d5 and then castle instead of taking back. Okay, so never play f3, which is the book move, and then this has all been played a million times, and it's a trade fest. It whites up a pawn, but it's a doubled c pawn, and the c6 pawn doesn't look very good. And white would be better if this pawn was here and the queen wasn't hanging. But with the pawn here, frankly, terrible. So this position is just completely equal. And they both prepared this. And at this point, they probably both knew it was going to be a draw. I don't think they're allowed to agree to a draw. So, Jan didn't really try to win this game. And Fabi just played a line that equalizes. He's like, all right, truth hurts. When you know a ton of theory and you both go into it and it's really deep and equal, then that it's going to be a draw. So that the truth hurts. Okay, and the game concluded. Check, take, rook c8. It's just really boring because everything is being traded. Yeah, there's like nothing to this game. And then after h4, Nepomniachtchi decided to make the game a draw, which he didn't have to do by playing rook a4. Yeah, then he gave up his a pawn for the h pawn. Okay, so that was sort of a non-game. They played to a position that was completely equal out of prep, and then they traded all the pieces off and agreed to a draw when it was legally allowed to do so, because this is move 41. Now, this wasn't a prearranged game, but neither player would risk going all out and losing and then crying like MVL. MVL, every game MVL plays, he's trying to win, which is the right attitude, but he's not in good form. Now, I'm going to tell you the greatest thing I've ever read on the internet ever. So Romain Edouard, who's a French GM, who's good friends with MVL, they're like, that son. He said, it's too bad that COVID destroyed MVL's tournament. MVL played great the first half, then he had to wait a year, and now he's not in good form. And then one guy, this is on Twitter, and a guy gave a response that's the greatest response in the history of anything. Not just Twitter, but the whole universe. Even on other if life exists somewhere else, he said, didn't MVL get in the tournament because of COVID? Oh, snap. Gotcha, bitch. Radjabov was supposed to play. He said COVID, rawr, and they said too bad, and he said, I'm not playing. So they let MVL in. So the only reason MVL's playing is because Radjabov wouldn't play because of COVID. So, yeah, there's no response to that. Man, if I was Edouard, if I was, and then that was the response, I'd be like, man, you got me, bitch. You got me. Yeah. That was the greatest thing that ever happened. Right. And you got nothing to say against that. God damn. No, MVL's the greatest person who ever lived. Not a dick at all. Yeah. Prediction? Pain. Yeah. Right, Geary's playing, I think, the best chess in the second half. Yeah.